Hello, this is Sculpt January number 20, and this time the title was Memorial. And I thought I'd do a sort of memorial slash monument, a bit sci-fi, a bit futuristic, perhaps a bit sort of elven fantasy genre. And as you can see here, I'm getting the basic shape with just normal extrudes and loop cuts, and for my base I've mirrored it twice, so I only have to do a quarter segment, and that's a theme throughout the whole sculpt. I'm only sculpting on 1/4 most of the time because I have mirror turned on in the X and Y. So that's a handy workflow tip, and I use it for the painting of my emission texture later on as well. So I've created two objects and I've joined them together using the Sculpt tools. And now I'm doing some masking. So I've painted a mask, inverted it, and then I'm using that to pull out the shapes with the snake hook tool. It's not something I've used often, and I think it's really important to try tools out, and that was one of the major things that I was doing today, trying hard surface modelling, which I haven't done much of, and trying the masking tool. Now I'm making some really odd shapes and just pulling bits out and having a think about the design I want, and I haven't settled on a final idea at all here. I'm just having a bit of fun, pulling things around and making shapes. I've got a reasonably low detail level, and it's something I found a little bit tricky was deciding on the detail level that I needed for the hard surface modelling, because the hard surface modelling kind of relies on a high level of detail to get those points and edges nice and crisp. And I actually started off too high a detail, in my opinion anyway, because the workflow was a bit slow to start with, and I was just pulling the mesh around until I'd decided on shapes. I wasn't sure exactly the design I was going to go for, whether it was going to be sort of vampire, memorial, with sharp pointiness, maybe elven, definitely sort of some sort of sci-fi, futuristic element. At this point I think I decided that it's going to be elven and futuristic. So it's going to be sort of sharp points with waviness to them and curves, sort of like eagle wings and things like that. I knew that I wanted to do an emission shader within the object as well, so I had that in mind all the way through. It is quite tough doing hard surface modelling. I find it a really hard thing to do, trying to get the edges crisp and clean, but using the right level of detail, because the tendency is to go quite high, so you can get those crisp lines, but then it can cause lag on your computer, of course. So now I've upped the detail level and I'm starting to pull out the finer details of the mesh. And this is where it starts getting quite fun really, and you can spend hours just painting on minor details and pulling the shape around. And I could have gone on a lot further than I did, but I am conscious of time. I don't want to spend too long on these because there's still a long way to go, and if I keep spending too long on them then I know it's going to just become a chore rather than a pleasure. very surprised that I've lasted this long actually. I didn't really have the intention of following it all the way through. I just thought I'd start off, see how far I got, but that's really down to the support I've received through the YouTube channel, so thanks very much for everybody that's watching this. I'm really glad that people are getting something out of it, and I really appreciate all those comments. I think my main intention with joining the Sculpt January challenge was just to improve my skills slightly. I'm a games design teacher and I'm mainly sort of in the art side of things, but I'm all self-taught through things like YouTube channels, and I've had no formal training, so it's all about learning new things and practicing and having fun. I do hope to get more freelance work as I go along, and I'm hoping to create models and sell them on things like the Unity Asset Store and sketchfab and so on. So I'm just sort of building up my skills in the hope that I'll do that one day. I also like doing the tutorials. It's nice to think I'm making a difference and people are interested and joining me on my journey. So you can see I'm painting the emission shader here. I used the normal map to get the shape, because obviously you're painting onto black, so you need to see the outline of the shape. And I'm painting white obviously onto black, so the white is the bit that will be seen and emit light, and the black won't. So you can easily plug that into a mix shader with your main shader and an emission, and this map as the factor. And here I am just setting up the nodes for the material. I didn't show the baking process because that's a bit dull, but I will do a tutorial on that later. And you can see that I'm putting the emission shader in using that painted emission map that I did earlier. I've also got an ambient occlusion and a cavity as normal, and a normals. The painted texture, because I had such bad seams and bad topology from the decimation, it sometimes bleeds onto other aspects of the mesh, so you get the odd bit of emission on other bits of the texture. So I used the colour ramp to sort of squeeze them out. And there it is, number 20, Memorial. It was a good fun one and a good experience with the hard surface modelling. I can strongly recommend joining the Sculpt January challenge. It's been really beneficial to me. Thank you very much for all the comments I've received, much appreciated. So get along to Sculpt January, links in the description. I'll see you there.